Good morning, everyone. This is Tony from our Homestead Skills. Well, I went out and got a few, fruit and other things. Mainly, I went out to get some cucumbers so that I could do some fermented dill pickles again. I'm down to 1 jar, and I've had that for a little while, so I think I'd like to make a fresh batch. And I went to a couple of stores. One didn't have anything at all. And what was it? The second one? Yeah, the second one had some beautiful cucumbers. So the pickling cucumbers, and that's exactly what I was looking for. Now these are nice and cold, which is the way they should be. So what we're going to do right now is I'm going to not do the pickles today. I'm going to cut off the blossom end, and then we are going to let these sit overnight in ice water. So I've got my bucket of ice here, but as soon as these are done, we're going to do that. I'm probably going to add a little bit of salt as well, and they're just going to sit. They should sit at least 4 or 5 hours, but we're going to let them sit overnight, and we'll probably get back to these tomorrow and start the fermentation process. Now you can tell which end is the blossom end. That end is obviously the one that got pulled off, the stem got cut off. The blossom end is more of a dimple. So that's the one that you want to cut off. This one here, definitely you can tell that it's been torn off. This is the blossom end. And I think I have enough here to make one nice batch. And if there's any extra, well, I'll just put them in a salad. But I think that'll do nicely in a half-gallon jar. So next step is to add a whole bunch of ice cubes. And then I'm going to add a bunch of water. Okay, at this point I've got my pitcher of water, and I'm just going to throw in maybe a tablespoon of salt. This is not really to ferment, this is just to, get them cold. You want them nice and cold before you ferment them, before you process them at all in any way. That tends to help ensure that they stay crisp. I'm going to get some more water here. Okay, I'm going to show you what I've got here. So I've got a bucket full of cucumbers and ice water, and I'm going to put these in the fridge if I can find a spot big enough to accommodate this, just to keep everything cold. And we want it to stay as cold as possible for as long as possible, and we will process these tomorrow. Okay, so I'm back today to complete my fermented pickles. I have had them overnight in ice water, and I did put this in the fridge to make sure that the ices didn't melt, because the first batch did. So I added more ice, put it in the fridge. You want to keep this as cold as possible. Now I'm going to make up my brine, and I'm going to start off with 1 quart of water and 2 tablespoons of salt to the quart of water. I'm hoping that'll be enough. I'll be using a half-gallon mason jar for my pickles, and hopefully when this is filled with pickles, the amount of water that I've mixed up with salt hopefully will be adequate. So let's get this brine made. Now you can make it a little stronger, more salt, or a little less, but I'm going to use the average. So I'm going to let this mix in a bit. Meanwhile, I'm going to get some garlic, some hot peppers, and some dill, which is something I'm going to add to the jar. So I'm going to get those ready right now. All right, so the half-gallon jar did not work out for me because of the large size of these pickling cucumbers. So I have pulled out a couple of my wide mouth quart jars, and I've transferred 2 garlic cloves, 1 hot pepper, and the dill in each of these. I'll probably need a third one, but I'm going to start off with these 2 for now. And I'm pulled out some of my homemade pickling spice. So I'm going to use some of this as well. So I'm going to just stir this up a bit, get a nice blend, and put a tablespoon in each. Okay, and I probably should put a copy of the recipe that I have that I made these. I'll link it online. Now, I don't know how many I can fit in here. Maybe 3, maybe 4, not many. So there's 3, and I may just cut some up here and put some wedges in there as well. Well, this one only allowed 3, so yeah, perhaps I can get a few more wedges in this if I cut them up. So let's try quarter wedges. I've never really made quarter wedges, but you know, they certainly will allow you to put more in a jar here. No problem. Let's go the other way. There we go. So whatever works. Okay, so I've pulled out a third jar, and I've got my hot pepper, and I've got some dill. Need another garlic clove in there, or 2. I like to put 2. I like garlic in this. Okay. And of course, another big heaping tablespoon of my spice blend here. All right, let's see what we can do here. I'm wondering whether I should just do wedges for the whole thing here. Maybe I will. No, let's try and get these all in here. So 3. And okay, in the end, I've had to put both whole and wedged pickles in these jars. So we have a couple of these weighted things. I think these are pretty tight anyway, so you're not going to see too much come to the surface. So now we're going to pour our brine in there. And I had mixed up a fair amount of brine, so I think I have more than enough. Now the brine does have to cover all the pickles right to the top. Okay, so I'm going to leave just a tiny bit of headspace here, because they are going to ferment and they will drip. Now I've also got these pickle weights, fermenting weights that I'm going to use. Probably don't need them, but I'm going to put them on because I do have them. So they're only for the wide mouth though. I don't have one for the narrow mouth. So now we're just going to add plastic lids to these. Unfortunately, well, let me see if I can take one from someplace else. I have one here. I have the regular mouth there. And each one of these is going to go into a bowl because they will ferment and they will leak water out when that happens. Now, I also just put these on very loose and I burp it every day. Make sure that the air can escape. So, let me just find another lid. Now you want plastic as opposed to metal because the salt will corrode the metal, so you don't want that to happen. So that's it now. So I'm just going to put these aside. I'm going to find a couple more bowls, and so every day I'm going to check these, burp them every day for about a week or so, 5 to 10 days, and then I will check and see when I feel that they are adequately done. And you can tell when the ferment has pretty much accomplished its job here. And when you want them to stop fermenting, which, you know, it slows down, and then you just put them in the refrigerator and they're good for a year. When I used to have a cold room in the basement, I would just put them in the basement and they were fine there for the longest time as well. Okay, that's it.